Step forward if you agree with the prompt. What an elder sees sitting down, a young man can see standing on an iroko tree.
There's no...
I agree with this statement. However, I also believe in wisdom and discernment. And the word of God says that if you ask the Lord for wisdom, he will give it to you. You can receive wisdom. Solomon asked for wisdom and he was the wisest man on earth. So I believe that someone can be older than you, have more experience than you, but still lack wisdom and discernment. And then also two people can have experiences but not learn from them as well. So it's kind of iffy. Let's see what they'll say. It's a bit dicey.
Except that youth wants to be playing with fire, that should argue this statement that what an elder sees, they will never see. I was once your age, and I'm glad you agree. Your counterparts didn't come out. I just wonder what they're going to say.
Oh, wow. Only one of the youth stepped up for this statement. Only one. I'm surprised. I'm shocked. I did think that more people would. Let's see. I did think that more youth would agree with this statement, or, maybe, agree with it and then say some points, give an explanation or something. But for only one person to sit down that they agree with this.
Listen, when I was your age and my parents were telling me a few things, I didn't see it. But now I'm older. I see they were damn right.
So I feel like that adage talks more about experience. Because of how much years you've spent on Earth, there are things that you've experienced firsthand that we still theorize. But because, experience is the best teacher. If it teaches you once, that is the lesson is constant. If you try it 10 times, you're going to come back to the same conclusion. Who has more experience better than the people that are older than us? So I totally agree with that submission.
It's an idiomatic expression. Yeah, the father may not be as tall as anything, but his experience is telling you that what he's seeing in the future, if you are not careful, it will befall you.
Many things that is in the Bible or Quran and in the East, experience of the past, the thing that other people...
That's so right. He's so right. It's so true. It's crazy. I mean, it's just amazing to me how accurate the Bible is. I mean, the Bible covers everything under the sun. Any question that you have about life, about anything that happens in life is in the Bible. You can find it in the Bible. You can find an example of it in the Bible. It's just amazing to me.
Generations, they put down to us. Had it been those books are not there, we could have been living like animals. There will not be orderliness.
Can the disagreeers please step forward?
That thing, the elder is sitting down. We will use drone and helicopter to see that same thing. Because I truly believe experience does not come with age. Anybody can have experience.
He's right though. Experience doesn't come with age, because you can grow over time in age, but not be exposed to certain situations or trials or whatever. So it's not because you grow in time and in age that you automatically be exposed or experience everything that somebody else has. So he's right.
If you make action, take moves. And I also believe experience goes both ways. Like can also be reversed. The elders can also learn from us. We can also teach you things. So I don't feel you should let your age make you arrogant.
For someone that is young, our brain is very active. These people are old. So you can't compare an old person with a young person. An old person does not know how to operate computer very, very well. Yes.
I think that was an unwise thing for him to say. I think that was unwise. I mean, computer, that's pretty surface. I think when I think about this expression, that I'm thinking more about life and experience and, challenges that you go through in life. And when you think about an elder and youth, you're thinking about transferring wisdom, lessons learned. Don't do this. I can foresee this issue happening if you go this way, but if you choose this way, you will be successful. I don't think about something like using machinery, So I think that was an unwise and not the best example for him to use if he wants to explain his point.
I have.
Even the Bible says those who are meek at heart, who have the heart of a child, will be the ones to enter the gate of heaven. They're humble enough to learn from us. To
What do you want to teach us?
You can teach anything, mommy.
No,
Teach you
Okay,
things.
so let me.
I hear him though. I do believe that elders can learn from youth as well. And I think that at any age, it's important to remain humble because you can always learn something from someone, anyone.
Give me 3 things.
Hold on.
No, let him
do
give
their
me 3
talking.
things
No,
you
let
want
them
to
do their
teach us.
talking.
Come on.
That's one of the example of the arrogance of the older generations. They talk about respect so much, but they actually don't practice what they preach. Because why would you tell me I can't teach you anything? I feel respect should go both ways. She can also teach me something, yes, I agree. But she doesn't actually believe I can teach her something. And I feel that's like unjust.
Are you telling me, and I'm talking?
I'm sorry if you don't like I'm talking too much, but I have a lot to say. What he just said, okay, the elders talk about they preach respect so much, but they don't practice what they preach. I understand what he's saying. However, the respect is not the same. It's not on a level playing field. It looks differently, and there's a certain way that we address elders that they don't need to address us just for the simple fact that they are elders. So it's not the same. It's not equal in the way that we show respect to each other. It doesn't look the same. So I understand where he's coming from, but you can't really compare the two all the way.
To you directly that you don't ask your father and your mother for some kind of advice on some certain topics.
I agree.
Why do you do that?
I'm not saying they don't have.
Excuse me, I'm taking
Don't get me wrong.
I'm not getting you wrong. You said that we shouldn't get arrogant and that what we see you use drone or whatever. So why didn't you use the drone to ask your mommy or your daddy that, oh, there's this thing that I'm going through, what do you think? Do you understand?
That still applies to what I'm saying. I'm humble enough to ask my mother and my father for some certain topics of life. And I believe
Why?
because I believe they truly have the experience.
Do they?
And I believe I also have experience that they don't
We're
have.
not talking about we're not talking about your experience. With what an elder sees, right? So you believe that there's something they know ahead or they've experienced ahead. And so you humble yourself, you creep to them and say, hey, daddy, blah, blah, blah. And they advise you. Why?
Well, what I'm trying to tell you is that it goes both ways. It goes both ways.
Did we argue that we can't learn from you? I beautifully said, you're so brilliant. You're so smart. But there are one or two things that are not right. I'm not going to stand here and be battling words with you. If there's an obvious problem, there is a problem. So for you to go to your parents, your mommy and daddy, and ask them on a topic that your drone couldn't answer you, then I think we're right.
An elder is only an elder with his wealth of experience, and the experience is gotten over time, right? If the person is already maybe say 70 years old.
See, I don't think that wisdom and experience and discernment are all the same. You can have experience, like I said in the beginning, and still make poor decisions. You can have experience and not have learned from the mistakes that you made in that experience. So I believe the most important things that we're talking about here when we talk about elders are foresight, wisdom and discernment to decipher what paths to take in certain decision making.
Spent 70 good years on earth, which means there are some things you probably experienced which may or may not apply to my situation, but it doesn't take away the fact that he has experienced them and they are valuable lessons for me to learn from them. Now, I just have to now use my discretion in knowing which one to accept, which one is going to follow my situation, and which one to reject.
The problem that we're not disputing that you guys have a lot more lived experiences is the fact that because a lot of older people tend to see the world in one particular way, and whenever they are giving advice, it comes out as a lot more haughty. It seems like whenever the older generation wants to speak to a younger person, the default, 70% of the time, default is condescension. You don't really know anything, so let me just help you along.
I don't do that, and I'm older
percentage. You guys have structures that you have already done. The experiences you have had are invaluable, okay? But if you're coming to me as, I know a lot more than you. Of course you know a lot more than me. You are older than me. That makes sense. Why are you making me feel like I'm stupid?
Maybe.
What makes you think we're making you feel
Yes, that's how it comes across.
So what makes you think we're making you feel stupid? The guy said you're making her feel stupid. And she said, what makes you think we're making you feel stupid? No, but I understand what she's saying. I think that people in general, I think that when I'm approaching a situation, right, or a conversation, one thing I think about is what is the goal of this conversation here? What is the goal of me saying this thing to this person? And I think that some elders can do a better job about approaching things that way, because the way that you say things matters. So whether we like it or not, if your goal is to help someone, you have to care about how they receive what you're saying. And so you have to be wise in the way that you address the topic, the issue at hand. You have to be malleable in that way, because if not, you're not going to achieve your goal. And so you have to figure out if your priority is to just say what you want to say and just get it out, or if you actually want to help the person along and you actually want them to receive what you're saying. And of course, with everything, there's balance, because you have some people who are overly sensitive and just easily offended. And so with everything, there is balance. But I think that I do believe that some elders can do a better job of approaching situations in that manner and being humble in their approach when they're sharing advice to other people.
Maybe you are trying to be high-headed.
I did it.
I'd like to hear her.
I did a short stint in corporate for like 3 months, and I left because this was how the environment was. I was the youngest person there, and it felt like everybody across was trying to tell me, well, I have a lot more experience than you, so you should do this in this particular way. There are many roads to your markets. Okay, sometimes it's bush and you will fall inside, but you might start seeing that the market. One road is just smoother than the other, and that's probably the road that you advise me to take. But it feels that like you are just hammering it on my head anyhow.
Was that person talking to you harshly?
It's not a specific person. It's I put the percentage out of the air, but it feels like in my lived experience, 70% of people that older people that talk to me.
Can't communicate with you.
Were you arguing with them or something?
I don't even argue.
Please step forward if you agree with the prompt. Respect, as demanded by the older generation, is overdone.
Enough respect for common sense. You can't tell me somebody is doing something that is like someone driving a car. You know where this person is passing will cause accidents, and because he's older than you, you will tell him, it's okay, sir, keep going, so that two of you will die together. Is that sense? Is that sensible? Obviously not. If we know this person is actually leading us to hellfire, collect the steering wheel. Whether force or fire, not good for anybody. Collect that steering wheel. So forget respect. Respect comes with experience.
It was getting a bit chaotic over there with them talking, so I was shaking my head a bit. But what that boy said, that was wild. that was a bit wild.
Is he doing the right thing? He's not. He should leverage on what he has now in his hands and cause a change. The age is on their side and technology is with them today. So they can do better.
You only knock it, he will pick you up and put inside jail. You're not supposed to knock his head. You're supposed to go and channel your brain to what to do.
I don't agree with that.
What I want to say. You channel your.
You have to think with the end in mind. What will you achieve by doing that? So just what she was saying, they put you in jail, and now what? How are you fighting? I don't know.
Your intelligence to where it's not supposed to go to. Like you, that you said you would give him a knock because
An
he
elder.
embezzled your money.
Yes.
What I expect you to say is to look for a way to plan the way that the leadership of this nation will go to the youths.
Step forward if you agree with the prompt. Modesty and morality are losing its values among the younger generation.
I agree. I wholeheartedly agree with this. I fully agree with this. In the younger generation, there is now more value placed on exposing everything, being non-discreet, and just like do whatever you want to do. I mean, do act however you feel, and it's just like unruly a bit. So I definitely agree with this statement. You know, you have these whole things about of self-expression, and these different code words that really I think are destroying the younger generation. It's just becoming too wild.
In the earlier days, all our activities is based on positive moral. We think of what they would say about our family. But in this era, when someone is doing something, it does it in its own way. Like something, it does it in its own way. Like, for example, when we dress in our days, every part of our body is covered up. But this modern society, some of them doesn't even care if they are half naked or not. We are living our own tradition, our own culture, imbibing European way of life.
We were somewhere and a girl walked past us half naked. And one woman called her and said, could you adjust your skirt a bit? Let it just come down a bit, because everything was showing. And when she turned back, he said, how does it concern you? She even pulled it up higher.
The aspect I'm looking at is some parents are not really standing their ground, and that is why some of these young ones are going off.
Yeah, some parents are afraid of their kids. They're more afraid of losing them or losing the relationship with them than they are of, them going astray or them doing the wrong thing, or they think that by being just friends with them and not being a parent and disciplining them, that they can influence them. And with everything there's balance, but I definitely have observed that like you see the school system here, kids are out of control because their parent and then the teachers, they can't call their parents because the parents don't discipline them at home. So then now who can tell the child anything,
My Bible tells me that if you train a child the way he should go, when he grows up, he will not depart from it. Parents have a very big role to play. If you've done yours, God will take control.
I feel like the Gen Zs have this unnecessary need to rebel. They just want to rebel against everything, every laid down rules, even to the point of gender, where this gender is no longer two. You have to give chances for pronouns, which was not there in the days of our fathers. Even our dress sense, we're becoming more fashionable according to what we think. Right? I feel like more skin means more freedom. Like they say, our body, our choice. We departing from the laid down values that our fathers laid down for us is not a form of mental slavery. It's getting so much out of hand that if we don't curb it at this point, we might not have a next generation.
As brilliant and smart as this generation are, I think it comes down to an end time era. I'm not trying to be too spiritual, but that's the strategy of the enemy to take out the youth. There's so much skin going about, there's so much rudeness, as brilliant and as smart, and I keep repeating, they're crazily creative. But you find the boys wanting to turn to girls, the girls, it's just going really crazy.
Candidate agreeers, please step forward.
What people term morality these days is really just that who them catch outside the thief, right? It's not like all these things did not exist before. These things have been there. Did anybody know fellas dancers in the 70s? By any and all standards, they had raunchy dresses, right? Using dressing to ascribe how moral a person is really speaks to your...
Well, modesty. I think the dressing has more to do with modesty than morality. I mean, they can be related, but the statement is modesty and morality are losing its values among younger generations. So I think the dressing part is having to do more about with modesty than morality.
Projection as opposed to that person, because you're the one seeing the person, you're thinking, oh, this person must have a less than stellar character because they are portraying themselves a certain way.
Modesty and morality, I feel the definition changes with time and with generations. Like my mommy over here now, you wearing a trouser, you can check back previous generations, a woman wearing trouser is actually seen as a bad thing or a masculine man thing. But now, your generation made it a normal thing and made it the norm. So I feel change has to come from someone. It has to come from one generation. And I feel change is not a bad thing. Just because we might act a certain way or dress a certain way doesn't necessarily make us bad people. I just believe the norm is changing, which is natural. Things will naturally change with time.
I detest that sort of look because it's just like you are posing like a lady or girl, which is not naturally endowed to men. Or maybe you are feeling inferior to what God gave you. I feel it's not normal.
I have a grandmother.
I think he was talking about gender changing or something. I don't know what the question that was posed to him was or what he was addressing. But what the boy was saying about women wearing trousers and that changes, he doesn't think that change is bad. I agree.